One is think it loud and be clear on what you're saying. So don't murmur. I think that is very clear. I have seen a few candidates where I have to ask them, ki, boss, what are you talking? Can you be a little loud? And then the candidate will say, I'm talking to myself. Right? I think that will never work. Please, like you have to be very clear. Whatever you're thinking in your mind about the case, feel free to share it with the interviewer. I think because that's exactly what the interviewer wants to check. He is not looking for the end solution where you say, okay, let's do ABC, right? Second thing is it's an online interview, like the I think what we did in case of Misbah, and I've also experienced it. When few candidates did it, and I really liked it. Try to share your screen, open a Word doc, try to share your screen. Try to list down what you want to do, what you're trying to do, right? I think I honestly like it, and I can tell you most of the candidates that have done it, I have hired them. Not just because they have shared the talk, but because of other reasons also, because the interview went very well. But it gives a very good impression because it shows that you're very confident, right? If you are doing a face-to-face interview, use whiteboard. Stand up from your chair, go to the whiteboard, and just list down the structure or whatever is coming to your mind. That again gives a lot of confidence to the hiring manager or the interviewer that you are very confident, you are clear on what you are talking about, right? I think that differentiates. And when I was talking about the first 5-10 minutes of that impression, right? I think this is a small thing that you can do. Keep sharing whatever assumptions you are taking. Never jump to conclusion solution. Most of the time when I make a decision that I don't want to hire that candidate in the first 5 minutes, it's because if I ask how do you launch Google Maps in Mongolia, they will say, we will do it via billboard marketing, we will do it via this, that, and the solution is done, right? So a lot of candidates who have not prepared for the interview, they will simply jump to the solution, right? This is something that you will definitely get a rejection if you will do it. Never come up with answers without any solid reasoning. So throughout your interviews, if you're taking assumptions, you have to be very clear on why you're taking that assumption. There should be strong reason. Demonstrate your skill sets. Let's say demonstrate your customer empathy. Talk about customers when you're taking a decision. Let's say you have two options, A or B, right? In case of, let's say, Google Maps, you want to take an option whether you should go with solution 1 or solution 2, for example, right? Talk about what customers will like. Do not say that, okay, I feel this should be done, right? Talk about data. The data suggests that this is there. So whatever we discussed in the last 7-8, I think the last few slides, right? The skill sets that the interviewer wants to check, demonstrate those skill sets throughout your interview, right? Whenever you get a chance, talk about the business team, that they will do it. Talk about the tech team. When you're prioritizing it, talk about, that I'll check with the engineering team whether this is feasible or not, right? I think the interview gives you an open forum where you can demonstrate that you know about all of this, that you have done all of this, and that puts the interviewer under comfort that they are taking the right decision by hiring you, right? And you have done all of this. That's one thing. Now I think these are like hygiene things or kind of a thing, but I'll now talk about a framework that I have honestly seen work, being like a lot of people use it and it works in most of the time and in most of the cases, right? This is very similar to how product managers within the organization at Razorpay also solves their any kind of problem, right? So first and the foremost thing is you need to understand what you are solving, right? So understand the case in detail. For example, in case of, and I try to solve the Google Map case with this approach, right? Let's say Google Maps in Mongolia. So understand the case. When I say understand the case, understand why the organization wants to do it. What is Google Maps? Or even if you know it, right? For example, you know what is Google Maps. Try to phrase it in your words on what do you mean by Google Maps. So tell, for example, Misbah, you should have said that, okay, this is Google Maps for Mongolia, for example. Let me define what Google Maps is. right? That is very important because your understanding of the product and the interviewer's understanding of the product might be completely different. Okay, so you have to set it very clearly in what do you understand with that product and understand the case. Ki why Mongolia? What is there in Mongolia? Why Sundar Pichai is asking me about Mongolia and not something else? There's so many countries in the world. Is that the only country that is left? Right? I think that question needs to be clear because if you are not clear, I'm sure you will not be able to release the product. Right? I hope, not sure if you have any one of you thought about it, right? When I said Google Maps in Mongolia, the first question should have been, what is Google Maps? I'm assuming since everyone know Google Maps, that can still be skipped, but why Mongolia? Right? There's a reason why I said Mongolia, right? So I think that is one thing. So understand the case in real, whatever that case is. Even if it's about rocket or rocket ship or spaceship or anything, understand it. Understand why the organization or business wants to do what they're trying to do. So understand why Google Maps wants to launch it in Mongolia. What is their objective? Is it around profitability? Is it around getting into new geography? Is it about just presence? Is it about customer acquisitions? What's the reason? Whether you want to steal data of the customers, whatever it is, right? So understand the business requirement very clearly. Then the next thing is understand the customers. So you have to be very clear in who are our customers or who will be our target customers. So in case of Mongolia, I think what Siddhant mentioned was right. You have to understand more about Mongolia. How many people live in that geography? What do they do? I think Misbah, you mentioned a word user story, but I think you have to define it very clearly with the questions that you have asking, right?
All right.
Who are these customers? What they do? Do they really need something like Google Maps? Because what if they don't need Google Maps? For example, I live in a small town, Nainital. I never use Google Maps, right? So even if Google will build a product for me, I might not use it, right? So we have to think from that lens as well. And then you have to define what you have understood as a target customer. For example, you can say, okay, based on whatever the interviewer has shared, based on your assumptions, I'm defining it as people in the age group of 25 to 35 going to, let's say, corporate office or working in farms in Mongolia, and they have to move from location A to location B because they have to sell their products. They have to do it once in a quarter, right? So define who our target customers are, right? Once that is done, then you start talking about their pain points. What pain points they are facing? Because if a customer doesn't need something, right? If they don't need something, there's no point of building it for them, right? There are so many problems to solve in the world. There's no point of solving something that problem is not there. So you have to make sure that you're able to come up with those pain points, take assumptions, ask it from the interviewers that what are the pain points that we are trying to solve. Let me try to understand about these customers, what they do, what is their day-to-day life. Do they have a problem around navigation, right? If yes, what is it? It might be around security and safety, that they don't feel safe in the routes that they take, right? It might be around that while they know about their local routes, they don't know when they go to cities or towns, nearby cities or towns, right? So talk about those pain points and then try to, uh, you know, prioritize them. So you can, say which is the most important use case to be solved. Okay, that's the kind of thing you can say that, okay, safety is one of the most important one because route, they can figure it out themselves. So giving them a safer route where no one will steal from them or where they will feel secure and safe, right? Is something that, that's the safety is, let's say, coming out to be the most important thing. Then try to know more about the market, try to know more about the competitors, because you need to be very clear, right? If there is a problem that needs to be solved, right? Then irrespective of whether there is a competitor or not, you might still go ahead with that problem, right? Google might still feel, okay, like I want to solve that problem. So the first and foremost thing is understanding whether there is a pain point in the market, whether the users really need something or not, right? Competitor is something that comes later in that stage. Whether there is a competitor or not, obviously that defines how we are solving the case. But I think understanding the customer, understanding the pain point comes first. Then once you are done with the market analysis, competitor insights, existing or potential. Then, try to come up with potential solutions. Now, the difference between a good product manager and a great product manager is a great product manager will never come up with just one solution. A great product manager will come up with multiple solutions, and he will not say, okay, there's only solution one. You will usually come up with 3-4 solutions. And again, I tell you why we do it. Even within the organization, when we write our product specs, it is recommended, and it's kind of must that every product manager needs to come up with at least 3 solutions. Right? It is required. Otherwise, the engineering team will not even start working on that spec. So you have to come up with 3 solutions, write down your pros and cons for each of these solutions, and then obviously the PM can recommend as per my understanding, we should go ahead with solution 2, so and so reason, right? But there should be options, because when you give it to the engineering team, whatever problem you're trying to solve, right, they should have some options. Because if you tell them do this, they might come up with some blockers saying this is not possible because of the current architecture, something or the other. Similarly, you might have to go to the business team also to understand what they can sell, right? So you can't just go with one product or one solution, because they will say, yeah, boss, this has multiple issues. So usually as a PM, you have to have multiple options available to you, rank them, give your recommendation, but you should have multiple solutions. And again, when you are solving it in the interview as well, come up with multiple, such solutions, so that the interviewer understand that, you have solved such cases in the past. The next thing, once you are done with the solutioning, obviously you can talk about how you will pass on that, or how you will bring clarity within the organization on what with solution to work. In this case, you might say that, okay, once I have finalized it, I will take inputs from multiple teams within the organization. That's the business team, the tech team, different teams, to align all of them that this is what we are trying to do and this is how we will try to do. Possibly Sundar Pichai should also be updated, right? That this is the approach that we are taking. Once all of us has aligned that this is what you want to solve, and in order to come up with the right solution, there are different prioritization frameworks, right, that a product managers typically use when you prioritize one feature or another. I might not be able to cover all of that in today's session, but you can Google it online. There, I think, a session on Hello Meets as well around prioritization of frameworks that a PM typically use to prioritize one feature or another. Try to demonstrate those understanding in the interview. Talk about how you will prioritize these 3 possible solutions, right? And I think you can use any of that framework, or how you actually prioritize a feature. Once all of this is done, list down the pros and cons. That is fine. Then the next important thing is GTM, right? A product manager job is not just to give requirements to the tech team. You have to come up with a launch plan as well on how you will launch this product in the market. Now, in case of Google Maps, let's say if you figured out that you're planning to launch a new application for Mongolians, then you have to think about how you will get your first 5 customers, how you will get the first 1,000 customers, right? So at least talk about it, come up with a basic go-to-market plan, right? And the next thing is, once you have done all of that, as a good product manager, as a great product manager, you will have to monitor some data points. So you'll talk about these are the data points that you will track in order to realize that this is going in the right direction. You can talk about phases, that this is the MVP, then there is phase 1, phase 2. This is what you're thinking. I think this structure works for 99% of the product thinking problems that I have encountered, right? Obviously, this is just a structure. Now, someone with a good product management experience will be because when you're talking and when you are giving details about each of these points, as an interviewer, I can easily figure out which candidate has some experience and which candidate, the terms that you use, and different ways of figuring it out. So obviously you can't hide that. If you have zero on product management experience, whatever framework you use, it will come out naturally, right? So specifically for APMs and PM1 roles, the entry level roles, if you're thinking in this structure and try to talk some sense, then you most likely will be hired. But as a senior PM or above, structure is just one part of it. So for example, when I rate a candidate, structured thinking is just one of the parameter. There are 6, 7 other parameters that I rate, right? And as I mentioned, any of the parameter going in the wrong direction can lead to rejection. For example, I will never hire a candidate with a very poor communication skill, whatever he has done in the other 5, 6 inputs. I'll also talk about the how exactly I measure the candidates, and most of the people within Razorpay also follows the same framework to rate the candidate.